Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Robin's Nest, your one-stop shop for any and everything motorsports related. So, I wanted to touch on a couple of things today. Some rally news, and then my opinion on something that happened during the NASCAR race this weekend that wasn't really the main show. Wasn't really something that had anything to do with the overall picture of the race, but it's something that I've noticed. That really doesn't make much sense to me, so I want to touch on that. Also, we are getting really, really close to 2,000 subscribers, which is, number one, is awesome. Super awesome. Never would have imagined. I know 2,000 may not seem like much to people on YouTube, in the YouTube world, because, you know, there's people out there that's got millions and whatever, but 2,000 is a huge number for us. That is super cool. Never would imagine we'd be at this point. So, like I've said before, we're going to do a giveaway. So stay tuned for that. I'll do a post and explain how we're going to do all that once we hit the 2,000 mark, just to show my appreciation. Because, like I said, you guys are awesome, and I appreciate the support. It means a lot. You know, when I jump on YouTube and I see that one of my videos has a couple thousand views, that's flattering for me. It's huge for us. I mean, just to see that many people are interested in what we've got to put together and the projects that we do. You know, I personally find the stuff that I put out there is what I find interesting. You know, and then I'll get on YouTube and I can't find exactly what I'm looking for, you know, a certain topic or something like that. So I'll just do it myself, and that way I can go back and watch it. Perfect example of that was one of the previous videos we did a couple of days ago. With the chaotic race in 2010 at Sydney Park in V8 Supercars. That race was insane. And so the couple of clips that are up online right now is, you know, of the accident, but there wasn't really much after the accident as far as the fallout and everything that happened to the rest of the race, other than going and watching the entire race and then having to skim through and get to that. So I just went ahead and put up the section of the race that I was interested in watching. That way I can go back and watch it, and so other people are interested in it as well, apparently. That's awesome. That's really cool. So, anyways, we're going to do a giveaway. Stay tuned for that. But like I said, I wanted to talk about rally and NASCAR today. So, without further ado, let's get into it. So for those of you who don't know, 2014 World Rallycross started. You know, there's been some big names that have gone through that series. Ken Block, Sebastian Loeb, several others. Excuse my phone. Forgot to turn that off. My bad. So anyways, it started in 2014. It's had some big names in rally come through. You know, Ken Block, Sebastian Loeb, several others. And for those who aren't familiar with Rallycross, it's essentially, if you watch the short course off-road trucks, stadium super trucks when they're on dirt, or even on asphalt too, but it's basically the same thing just with rally cars. And, you know, I think, as far as in the West, I think it's probably about as popular as what rally itself is. And so, anyways, this series started back in 2014. And I've watched it. It's been entertaining, to put it mildly. And so they switched to electric cars a couple of years ago. But I think if I have this correct, they still run combustion engine cars, but they just run them together, electric and traditional. And so they've been having some money issues here as of late. And so their promoter ended up dropping out. And so the FIA announced that they have taken complete ownership of the series. So they're the owners. They're going to run it. They're going to promote it. The way I understand it, they're going to promote it. So that's going to be interesting to see. You know, the FIA gets a bad rap, and some of it is justifiable. I mean, some of it is, you know, they've made some dumb decisions over the years, and that's understandable for people to criticize them for it. But when the FIA is actually running like a well-oiled machine, like it's intended to, they do good work. I mean, you can't deny that. I don't think Formula One would be where it's at today if it wasn't for the FIA's help and the way that they govern. The same way with WRC, but maybe WRC is not a great example because there's some controversy about the way that series is run now with the different categories of WRC, WRC2, and WRC3, and the lack of OEM membership in WRC1. There's only Toyota, Hyundai, and Ford. That's a little anemic, in my opinion, when you only run 3 or 4 cars, and so when you compare it to the way that it used to be. But anyways, I'm getting off topic. So they have taken ownership of World Rallycross, so it'd be interesting to see what happens moving forward with that. I'm optimistic. Hopefully it bears fruit and they kick some tail with it. That'd be great. I want to see. Rally and Rallycross have never really taken off in America. They do have competitions and stuff, not in WRC, but different Rallycross, and they have we have a rally series here that I know they have one big rally in Tennessee. It's not far from us, but it's never really how Formula One has exploded basically in popularity in America over the past couple of years. It'd be nice to see that happen with Rallycross and Rally. I would love to see WRC have a North American Rally. World Rallycross compete over here on a regular basis. That'd be neat to see. So hopefully FIA can do that. So the other thing I wanted to touch on. So for those of you who aren't familiar with Katherine Legge, okay, she's a race car driver, professional race car driver. She's competed in IndyCar forever. Off and on. I think she's run sports cars, and she probably the most famous thing that she's for, at least from what I remember of her, I think it was Indy Lights. She had a massive crash at, I believe it was Elkhart Lake in like 2006, 2007, where she through the kink, flat out kink, she spun out, hit the fence, the car went airborne, split in half, and like the cocoon section where she was sitting just broke free from the gearbox and the engine and just started flipping. It just looked awful. It looked similar to Greg Moore's accident, and so everyone was thinking that she was going to be like really hurt because obviously Greg didn't survive his, and but no, she ended up being basically fine. And so from there she's carved out a career in professional motorsports. But I'll say this. She's been in racing for years, okay? For decades at this point. Or over a decade. To my knowledge, she's never won a race, okay? In any of these top series that she's competed in. I believe she's only run one Xfinity race. That was last year. And so she put together a deal for her to run BJ McLeod and Matt Tiff's car this past weekend, which is the Live Fast Motorsports number 78 Chevrolet in the Cup Series. And for those who don't know, that's a backmarker team. They run on a shoestring budget. I don't think they even run full time anymore, just here and there. And so she put together a deal to run that car this weekend, qualified in the back, ran in the back, and ended up wrecking twice. But here's my problem with that whole situation, okay? So, because she's run IndyCar, and I believe she's run sports cars. Don't quote me on that, but I think she has. I'm pretty sure she has. So, because she's done that, that means that she's qualified to run a cup car? That doesn't make any sense. It's a similar thing to what happened with Elio Castroneves at Daytona. Excuse me. He's an IndyCar driver. Sports car driver. Okay. Those cars are nothing like a cup car. They're just not. And so because he's won Indy 500, a million times, that means he's qualified to just jump in a cup car. You know, I think he showed in the ARCA race. I think he was involved at Daytona. I think he was involved in every accident that happened at Daytona. And I'm not exaggerating. He was literally in every accident. He wrecked in the qualifying race for the Daytona 500. And then he wrecked in the Daytona 500. You know, so I think that was a failed experiment. And then, so Katherine, similar deal, you know, but without the success in the other forms of racing. So she just had the money. So if you got the coin, you can go racing, evidently. You know, the first spin that she had was understandable. That happens to people all the time. You know, she was coming out of turn. And I make sure I got my turns right with Phoenix. I'm still not used to the fact that they switched the track around. But she's coming out of turn 4. And she put too much wheel in it because the car was pushing and she ended up spinning out. Didn't hit anything. She was good, kept going. The second accident, she just washed up the track as a lead lap car was passing her and spun out, hit the car, spun out, and then spun out directly in front of Daniel Suarez, who was running like 6th. And he clobbered her and knocked him out of the race, knocked her out of the race. And she was laps down at that point. You know, it was just you could tell it was a rookie. And by the way, NASCAR decided going into this year that rookie stripes are no longer going to be a thing. Like, if you've made it to the upper echelon of stock car racing, this is what their excuse was, then, you know, you shouldn't run a rookie stripe. Like, you've made it, so why would we make you run a rookie stripe? It makes no sense. It makes absolutely no sense. Some of NASCAR's infinite wisdom that they've, you know, displayed for the past few years. If anyone needed a rookie stripe, she certainly did. You could tell that she was in over her head. She didn't really know what she was doing. And just overdrove the car, spun out, and took out a guy that was running top 10. You know, and I know people are probably going to get mad at me and think that I'm just bashing on her because she's a woman. That's not the case. You know, I've made this argument several times. There have been women that have been coming through stock car racing that have had talent, and because of money are not in the sport anymore. Okay, and I will reference Johanna Long until like the day I die, that she had huge potential. She had the talent. She was in a mid-pack at best car and running top 15, top 20 with it. And because of money, she washed out. But every other woman that's come along, they've been forced up as quickly as possible. You know, we don't care if you're successful in the feeder series. We just want you in the main game as quickly as we can get you there for viewership, for money. You know, it's what happened with Haley. You know, I saw an interview with Brian Deegan where he was telling Haley, like, we're going to take our time in each one of these steps. You know, we're not going to run a season and not win any races and then go ahead and move up to whatever. You know, we're gonna take our time. We're gonna get successful, and then we're gonna move on. We're gonna get the hang of it and then move on. And that's not what happened. Toyota moved her up quickly, and then Ford did a similar deal. Danica, same thing. You know what? Love her or hate her, she actually had some talent. She got rushed up. She was not ready for the main game, and I think she, one season in Xfinity, and then she didn't really do anything there either. It's crazy to me. But I think, honestly, that the Cup Series, if it's going to be the upper echelon of motorsports in North America, if you make it there, then you've made it, according to NASCAR. Then there needs to be a license system. Similar to Formula One, you know, with the super license, where you have to have X amount of basically credits on your license in order to even be able to sit in a Formula One car, basically. That's a similar deal that they need to do with NASCAR. If they want it to be legitimate, if they want it to be like, if you're here, you're here, you've made it, you're at the top, Okay, well then you shouldn't be allowing people that have no experience in a cup car to just jump in a cup car and go racing. There needs to be a license system. Like, these people need to run ARCA, they need to run trucks, they need to run Xfinity until they get X amount of points on their license to run in those series. You know, there was a similar argument a few years ago when Morgan Shepherd made a cup race at New Hampshire, I think it was. And he was running laps down, dead last, and ended up spinning out Joey Logano, who I think was leading the race at the time, or maybe running second. And so there was an argument then that, you know, if you're going to be in that series, you know, you should have to go through some sort of regiment in order to get there. And as much as I like him, look at Travis Pastrana every time that he's run a cup race. You know, or the one time that he's run a cup race. I don't know how many times he has, but I do remember that he ran for 2311, I think last year or the year before. I really like Travis. Got nothing against him, but like, he's got no business just jumping in a cup car with like no experience. I mean, he's run Xfinity, but he's been out of the sport for how long, you know? Save the odd race here and there with Nice. Aside from that, he's been out of the sport for a long time, and he wasn't successful when he was in the sport. You know, that, like I said, no dig at Travis. I really like Travis. The dude's awesome, and the dude's got more talent in his pinky finger than most of us have in our whole body. I mean, the guy's incredible. But for whatever reason, he just never, you know, he and NASCAR didn't gel. And so I remember when they announced that he was going to run for 2311, it's like, really? That should not be allowed to happen. That extra car that 2311 runs, they had Kobayashi was driving it at one point, once or twice. Even Kimi Räikkönen. Okay, like, if it were the other way around, and this happened, by the way, with IndyCar driver a couple years ago, Colton Herta, when they were trying to get him into Formula One with the Andretti team, and like, he wasn't allowed to because he didn't have any points. He didn't have a license, a super license. You know, nothing in IndyCar counts towards Formula One. And so, I mean, you couldn't take a NASCAR driver and secure him a seat in Formula One because he's got the money behind him, and he'd be allowed to race. That wouldn't happen, you know, because you have to have a super license. And so it should be the same way here. And it should be that way with IndyCar. It should be that way with NASCAR. Any top form of motorsport in this country, on this continent, should be exactly the same. Because if you had someone who didn't have any experience in Formula One jump in a Formula One car and go out there, I don't care what else they've been driving, they're going to look foolish because they don't have experience in those kinds of cars. You know, similar to NASCAR. Stock cars are a beast all of their own. So that's my opinion on that. Nothing personal against Katherine. You know, nothing personal at all. If you've got the money to secure a ride, hey, look, more power to you, because the way that the rules are now, you know, there's nothing preventing you from doing that. I just think that needs to be something that's changed. If they want to be taken seriously and be more legitimate, which the NASCAR leadership in place now, that's likely to never happen as long as they're still running the show. But yeah, and I don't think it's any secret my feelings on the Steves and on Jim France, but you know, I would love to see that, but a lot of other changes too to make NASCAR like go. They're gonna have to go backwards at this point to go forwards. You know, it used to be looked at as a legitimate form of racing, and now it's just a circus. It's like the race yesterday. Everyone on Twitter is saying, well, it was a great race. It was a great race. Well, the only reason it was a great race is because we're running low horsepower and no one can get away from each other. So, like, we've devolved into, in order for NASCAR to have entertaining races at this point, everyone has to be bunched up. You know, even at Phoenix, it's not a plate track, which I know they don't run plates anymore, but I'm still going to call them a plate track. Daytona, Talladega, and Atlanta. So, but even at Phoenix, they still were running, on top of one another, especially on the restarts, and then wiping each other out and all that. That's not racing. I'm sorry, it's just not. It reminds me of watching the MX-5 Cup, the Mazda Miata racing. Those cars are all basically exactly the same, and they can't get away from each other. So like they run in a big pack even on road courses. But that's a feeder series for guys learning how to drive. It's a big difference between the Cup Series, where everyone's supposed to be established and professional race car drivers at that point. So I can't. They need more horsepower, number one, and these guys need to be able to race, legitimately race. Stages need to go, stage points, all that nonsense. I mean, it probably, like I said, under this leadership, it won't. But they said they heard all the complaints about the championship last year. How Joey Logano won, and he was like 13th in the regular season and ended up winning the championship. And they've come out and it's been leaked out that like their solution to that problem for next year, which they said, screw you guys, we're not changing it for 25. We'll look at it for 26. But like the solution that's been floated is we're going to change the venue of the championship race. That does not fix the fundamental problem. Changing the venue is not going to do anything other than just change the venue. But the problem with your point system is still there. But they're so inept and incompetent, and they just don't pay attention, or they just don't care. They care about the bottom line at this point, and racing be damned, which is why you still see cars flipping over every time they get sideways. They did 2 or 3 years into this car and they can't figure that out. Anyways, I can go on a soapbox about my disdain for the leadership right now. But yeah, that's my opinion on the whole Katherine Legge situation and the World Rallycross deal. I'm excited. I'm cautiously optimistic. Hopefully that works out great. Like I said, when the FIA is on their game, they're on their game and they do a great job. So hopefully that will be the case. And the series will just get healthier and healthier, and we'll get more participants and some more OEM involvement. That would be cool too. So anyways, if you found this interesting, like, subscribe, leave a comment, turn on notifications so you don't miss any of our future videos. Like I said, keep an eye out. We're going to do a post and explain how we're going to do the giveaway once we hit the 2,000 mark, which is it should be coming up here in the next day or two or so. I'm not trying to count my chickens before they hatch, but the way it's been going, hopefully that's what happens. So keep an eye out for that. As always, we really appreciate you watching. Until next time, peace.
És 100 fölfele. 100 fölfele, jobb 2 tempó, 20-ra bal 2 tempó, 20-ra bal 2 tempó, 25-re bal 2 szűk, bal 2 szűk, és bal 2, és bal 2, majd 50-re jobb 2, itt a bal 2, és 50-re jobb 2, majd szűk 50-re jobb 3 az aszfaltra. Szűk 50-re jobb 3 az aszfaltra.